Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Dr. Omer Atilla Ergi.
Hello, Dr. Zuleyha. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm going to go straight into our topic today. We're going to talk about aliens. Now, there's a lot of intrigue and fascination about aliens. There's movies about aliens. But what does Islam actually say about aliens? Is there a possibility that they can exist?
Yes. It is a big topic.
It is.
And a lot of people, they have big questions about it.
And some are very adamant, they believe in it, and others are like thinking, no way, it can't. Very skeptical. So it has kind of got two camps.
Yeah. But the big question that probably every human being asks to themselves is, are we alone?
Comes from that.
In the universe, There is a interesting theory, or I should call it a paradox. It's called the Fermi paradox, named after astrophysicist Enrico Fermi. It's very famous. When they look at the possibilities, from a mathematical possibilities, there are currently, we believe there are about 2 trillion galaxies in the universe. 2 trillion, not billion. That's a big number. And our universe in diameter, observable universe, is about 93 billion light years. It's not very easy for the tongue, isn't it? 93 billion light years. It's not just normal 93 billion kilometers. Light years is huge.
That is huge.
So when you think about the immense size of the universe, 2 trillion galaxies in there, as I said, and if we just focus even on our own galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, it is estimated that there are about 200 billion stars. Wow. Only in our galaxy, 200 billion stars. And lately they have another estimation. Within our galaxy, there are about 400 billion planets. 400 billion. So 200 billion stars, about 400 billion planets. And the latest information or estimation, out of these 400 billion planets, about 40 billion of them, just in our galaxy, they are at a distance from their stars, host stars, what we call the habitable zone, like the Earth. The distance of the Earth to the Sun. And they are all, they're estimating that they are inhabitable zones, meaning that there is a possibility that life may have emerged on them.
On those planets.
Yes.
Because the sun or the star makes it habitable because of its
Makes
distance.
it habitable, Depends on the type of star as well. Like the habitable zone changes depending on the type of star. If it's like a, let us say, red dwarf star, which is smaller than our sun, surface temperature varies about 3,000 degrees. Our sun is about 6,500 degrees. So they could be closer then. The planet could be closer. It's still in the habitable zone. And conditions make it possible for water to, be on the planet, and other conditions, maybe atmosphere, we don't know. There are a number of candidates already because of James Webb telescope. Now we can detect planets much easier, more clearly. So there are a number of, candidates that may have, life on them. We're not just talking about, life like us. They could be just microscopic life. We don't know. However, if you look at all the probabilities from that perspective, there has to be life somewhere. There's no doubt. Organic life we are talking about. And as I said, the Fermi paradox is this. One day, Enrico Fermi, at an observatory, as I remember reading this, he came to next to his friends or the colleagues working there, and he said, "Where is everyone?" He was talking about the space in the universe. Right. Because logically there should be beings throughout the universe. And he said, "Where is everyone?" And then they developed this theory. It's called the dark forest theory. It means that, if there are civilizations out there, intellect, or we should say intelligent beings out there, It is possible because the universe is very old. Some of them might be much advanced than us, human beings.
Okay.
It means that if they do exist, why can't we see them or detect them? They could be hiding. That's why it's called,
the dark
forest, because
Okay,
they are concealing themselves. And when you think about it logically, it makes sense to me too. Because if we were to go and, visit another planetary system, let us say Alpha Centauri system, we want to check out the planets there, we develop the technology. Just in case, we would conceal ourselves too initially.
Absolutely,
We wouldn't want to just come out and say, here we are.
It's foreign grounds, we would be hiding.
Yeah, because we don't know if it's dangerous or not.
Right.
So it's possible that these, beings could be hiding themselves. This is the ideology that we have. But from an Islamic perspective, as you ask, is it possible?
Yeah, does the Qur'an say anything about this, or the Prophet say anything about this?
Yes, I think this is the important part of it. Now, we know that there are extraterrestrial beings from an Islamic perspective, and we have no doubt about it. But when we classify them, it's a different story. Now, we know that there are angels. We know that there are jinns. So throughout the universe, Allah has created, and Qur'an clearly mentions this. But the question here is, are there biological organisms like us? Or are there organisms which are, they have the intellectual capacity like us, intelligent beings, This is a big question. There are indications in the Quran. There's no doubt about this. And one of the verses that comes to my mind is in Surah Ash-Shuraa, verse 29. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He has created the heavens and the earth, and He spread among them all the dabbas.
Okay, the word dabba.
The Quran uses the term dabba, and dabba technically, if you look at the Quran, means living organism, something that moves. And now you can maybe technically consider that jinns and angels might fit this description too, but this would be against the methodology of the Quran. The reason for that is, if you look at all the terms that mention dabba in the Quran, it's always referring to organic beings.
Right.
Like 14 times dabba is mentioned in the Quran, and 4 times in plural form, dawab. And the Quran always talks about, like animalistic life when it refers to dabba, something organic. It is not really, creatures made up of, or I should say metaphysical creatures, spiritual creatures, or, angels which are made up of nur, jinns made up of, smokeless fire, as the Quran mentions. When dabba is used in the Quran, it's always referring to biological beings. So
you're pretty sure then that it's talking about biological beings and not to the angels and the jinn?
Yeah, we can be pretty sure about that, because the term dabba, as I said, there is another verse in Surah Nur, where it says He has created all living beings, all dabba, this is very interesting now, from water.
Right, okay.
So I think the term is kulli hay, I think. Everything that's living is created from water. So if the Quran mentions water and dabba together, we know that it's not jinns or the angels.
Yeah, sounds biological. That's why you're saying it sounds biological. Something that's created from water.
Yeah, biological beings, we are made up of water. As you know, majority of our bodies are water anyway. Human beings, 70%. Like 60, 70% of our bodies is water. It's same with almost all, animalistic creatures as well. So if the Quran is saying dabba is made up of water, we know that it's not referring to angels or the jinns.
Right.
And when we look at Surah Ash-Shuraa, He spread between the heavens and the earth all these dabbas, living creatures. Automatically, we think that it must be organic beings. Furthermore, sometimes people argued, some classical scholars argued that, the Quran could be referring to, angelic beings, spiritual beings. They use the term nurani, ruhani, those terms. But the problem with that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not create anything without purpose. Yeah.
True.
Why did he create this 2 trillion galaxies with billions and billions and billions of planets? If you say it's just for angelic beings to see them, why, materialistic creation then? They're all made up of, atomic particles, subatomic particles. They're all, matter. It would not make sense either. As we said, Allah does not create anything without purpose. There's hikmah there, there's wisdom there.
So the fact that it's a material entity, you feel that there should be or physical entity, you feel that it should be a physical entity that can witness it or see it or interact with it.
Yes, and experience it as well. Because what is the purpose of creating those planets, those worlds? So I believe there are biological beings, apart from spiritual and, angelic beings. There are biological beings. Will we discover them? I think eventually we will, because the Qur'an also says in a verse, he has the power to bring them together, gather them together. He uses that term.
So that raises more questions, I guess. So you believe there is life outside outside Earth, but it could be organisms, it could be some bacteria, or it could be beings like aliens.
Intelligent
beings, or who may be even accountable like we are for our deeds.
Yes.
Potentially. So where have you thought about this? Which way do you think?
Look, if there are intelligent beings, organisms, they have to be accountable like us anyway. But one thing that comes to my mind, the noble prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent 124,000 prophets, messengers. And when you think about 124,000 is a big, big number.
It is.
I don't think you can squeeze them into the earth or Earth's history, because currently, we believe that Homo sapiens, human beings, have been around about 300,000 years. The oldest fossils of Homo sapiens skulls we found discovered are about 300,000 year old. So how could you fit 124,000 prophets into 300,000 years? If a prophet came every 10 years, it would be 1.24 million years.
And we know that didn't happen with the prophets that we know, or I suppose if they're not mentioned in the Qur'an, but even then.
Yeah.
Sorry, so if it was every 10 years, how many would that make?
1.2 million years.
Yeah, and whereas we've been around for 300,000 years.
Humans have been around about 300,000.
They could have come to different sections?
They did. Sometimes there were prophets, a number of prophets at the same time, but sometimes there were big, periods between them as well, like Isa alayhi salam and Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. 600
That's
is
true.
a huge number between them. So there may be prophets sent to other systems too. And there is a authentic hadith supporting this. It is from Ibn Abbas. As you know, Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anh, is one of the most famous of tafsir scholars, we should say. One of the first and one of the really renowned tafsir scholars of the Sahaba. And Ibn Abbas, when he interprets the verse, 7 heavens,
Right.
in the Qur'an. That 7 heavens are mentioned 7 times in the Qur'an. That's interesting too. When he interprets that, he says it means, he goes, in every heaven, there is an earth like yours. That's very interesting. There is an earth like yours, and on those earths, ars, he uses the term ars, there are Adams like your Adam. There are Ibrahims like your Ibrahim. So there are prophets there, like your prophets. And this makes sense. And some of the Sahaba, when he made the exegesis of this word, these verses, they said, can you tell us more? And Ibn Abbas said, I can't tell you any more than this, because I'm afraid you might deny what I say. it indicates that he knows more, something more, but he didn't explain it. And this hadith goes all the way back to Ibn Abbas. It doesn't go all the way to the Prophet. It goes all the way back to the Ibn Abbas. But still, it's very interesting. Sahabi is saying this.
Sahabi, yeah, and his tafsir is well respected. A question comes to my mind when you're talking about there could be life, other heavens, let's call it, or and so forth. The Qur'an does mention that, Allah did not create humans and jinn, but to worship Him.
Yes.
So it mentions those two entities. Mm-hmm. But then you did start mentioning about how they've got their own Adams and Ibrahim alayhi salams and so forth.
Yeah.
So how...
They could be, look, it is possible they could be like human-like entities.
Yeah.
So when the Quran says humans and jinns, it could be including them.
Oh, okay.
We don't know.
May encompass them in that category.
May encompass them as well. Also, the term jinn, it means really unseen. So unknown. We don't know what jinns are really. We only know what the Quran tells us and what the hadith tells us. Okay. I have, different views on jinns. A lot of people in the Muslim world, they assume that jinns are some sort of metaphysical beings. Beyond meta, I don't agree with that. There's no such a thing, because we know in the story of Suleyman alayhi salam, in many other things in the Quran, the prophets, stories, we know that jinns have actually physically worked, like for Suleyman alayhi salam. They built, temple, they built, they were even divers.
Yeah.
It's mentioned there. So they are physical beings, jinns, but their essence are different. Just like human beings are made up of, for example, soil, or earth. That's what we are made of, clay, I should say. Mm-hmm. We are made up of clay originally, but are we clay now? No. So our essence is clay. Allah has created originally us from clay. And He created the jinns from smokeless fire. Technically, there is no such a thing as smokeless fire, is there? Where there's fire, there is smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire as well. But what does it mean? When you look at the etymologies of those words used in the Quran, smokeless fire, penetrating fire, it's very interesting. Toxic fire, nari samum, for example. What comes to my mind, the essence of jinns are some sort of radioactive material.
Just thinking, is it radiation? So what is it, radioactive?
Yeah, radioactive material or radiation. It could be some type of antimatter. It's possible.
So this matter can make themselves physically appear because and they can not as well be visible to us.
Yes, exactly. Like Albert Einstein's, E equals mc squared. It means that energy can convert into matter, and matter can convert into energy. Mm-hmm. So if they are originally made up of some type of, electromagnetic radiation, they would have the ability to convert themselves into matter and into energy as well, where we don't really detect them when they are in energetic form.
Yeah.
So I believe they are made up of matter, because the Quran doesn't say they are metaphysical. The Quran clearly explained what they are made up of. So it's a very broad term. When we say jinn, it's a very broad term. The universe could be filled with these beings.
Especially when you think radiation, it makes it so much more possible that they could be everywhere, because you can have radiation all around you.
Yes.
We can't see, but it can be detected, And so with jinn, I suppose as well, they could be around, but you just can't always detect them, or we can't always see them with the human eye, but that doesn't mean they're not there.
Maybe they have that ability to convert themselves. Yeah. But I do believe it's not just the jinns and the angels, but I do believe there are organic beings as well. It's a big possibility. We cannot write it off, from an Islamic theological perspective. There's evidence in the Quran, there's evidence in the Hadith. And if they are intelligent beings, they will be, responsible. They will have moral responsibility as well.
Especially when you think about the scale of the universe, like what you were explaining, it's huge. And, I guess Allah, one of His names is Al-Hakim, the All-Wise. Everything is created with wisdom, not for, sport. And so you think if there is so much out there, it wouldn't be just sitting there.
Yes.
And this is, I think, one of the arguments you were putting forward.
Yeah.
That
I think as human beings, sometimes we have this arrogance. You know, we think that the entire universe is created for us, whereas we are, you know, at the size of, you know, atom, even more smaller compared to the universe, much smaller than an atom. So we think we are very significant. I don't believe that. You know, even the verse in the Qur'an, you know, I have created human beings in the best of patterns, you know, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Some scholars, you know, when they interpret this verse, they say it is referring to the living species on Earth. So we were created in the best pattern on Earth. Not in the entire universe, on Earth, you know.
So I was thinking that too, because when you said we're not that special, when you, in the scheme of things, the universe, it is humbling, like what's Earth compared to everything else. But I suppose when you look at the Earth, then the human beings have a special role. Yes. So it depends on which perspective you're looking from it.
Exactly. You know, compared to creatures on Earth, there are currently, they say, about 8.7 million different species on Earth. We're all made up of the same organic material, you know, amino acids, proteins, so on. But humans are unique, isn't it? Very different. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses us to, that's what makes us so unique, not our physical side, although we are different in physically too. We are uniquely created physically too. But what makes us really valuable, because He addresses us, and it's our intellect, our free will. And if there are other creatures in the universe who do have intellect, then they would be, you know, valuable as well. And there is a verse in the Qur'an which says, I have made or favored the sons of Adam above most of my creation. So Allah doesn't say all of, most of my creation. So there may be more, you know, favored creation in the universe elsewhere as well.
That would be a blow to the ego, human ego.
It would be, wouldn't it? Yes. But it is a possibility.
It's a reality.
It is a possibility. Then again, there could be human-like, you know, beings elsewhere in the universe too. It is a possibility.
I guess we can't rule it out. That's the strong message I'm getting from this, because it doesn't, believing in aliens in no way it violates anything that Quran says. If anything, you're saying the Quran
it supports
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is Allah. No one can, you know, restrict the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one can say, you know, He only creates human beings. Everything is about humanity. Look, if He just wanted to test us, the solar system would be enough. Why would you create billions and trillions of, you know, planets and star systems? It would just be enough solar system to test us as human beings. So all of these things are created for a purpose. Purpose that maybe we can't still fully understand.
Yeah, Allah knows. Wow, very interesting. Thank you for that. Very insightful.
Thank you.
So all of those who were being criticized for believing in aliens, it's not so far-fetched after all. And speak to you next time. Assalamu alaikum.